Happy New Year. Trouble is, I'm not happy. I'm not. I'm not happy with myself for several reasons. You'll hear about those over time, not just today. I'm not happy with the church, but not with you. You're all wonderful. I'm talking about the institution. I'm not happy with the community around us. I'm not happy with my country. And I'm not happy with myself, most notably because I haven't been doing the work I want to do. I've been holding back. I've been counseled by many of my better colleagues, and most of them are better, by the way. Just ask them, they'll let you know. To be a listener, to be thoughtful, to learn the ways of the church, to walk a mile in your shoes. And I've been doing that. And I love being with you. I really do. But I felt myself saying, well, I'll wait. I'm not sure I should. And I don't know, some of you know I was doing some online writing in December. And I got a response back from someone who said, we don't want you to be thoughtful. We want you to be you. And if you're unhappy with something, it's okay. And if you feel like you're going to be outrageous, be outrageous. Someone said, so hang from the balcony. Well, I'm not going to go quite that far. The insurance rates aren't quite that generous. And one of the things I realized is whenever I stand in that pulpit, there's a yardstick there. There really is. He's leaning over it like Duncan. He's not leaning over it like Duncan. He's preaching from a manuscript like David. He's not preaching from a manuscript. And I'm saying to myself, if that's going to bother me for a bit, I'm going to let that go. I'll get there. But there's a part of me that says, I'm unhappy because I'm unhappy with me, and I've got to find a way to be happy with me in this spot. And the thing I'm dealing with here is whether you like that. And it's the new year, and I'm saying to myself, let's find out. Let's find out. So I'm going to deal with my anger in the next 3 weeks, my anger at myself, my anger in general places in 3 sermons. One about the country, that's the one you get today, and that's the easy one. One about our general community, that will get a little more tense in some quarters because who knows who I'm going to gore with my horns then. And then there's one about the church, and I'm going to try to, I think I might do that on videotape and put up a monitor right here. But in all of these, you should know that I'm also exercising my anger at myself. Okay? And I'm also dealing with the reluctance to be angry because that can be very distancing and difficult. But I'm taking some people's advice literally. Put your anger to use. Don't put it to one side. I've made some notes here. I'm not working with a full manuscript. It's working without a net day, guys. I'm really going to fall in. I might as well go in all the way. Trust your own wisdom. I can be wrong, but hey, aren't we all? Forget about being safe. I should be honest instead. Share your anger. Let you know where I'm coming from. Let myself know where I'm coming from. Anger is energy. I'm going to put it to work. And the first place I'm going to put it to work is talking about my nation. And I got to tell you, I'm not happy with my nation right now. And that's someone who has at least 12 generations of being in America in his pocket. Let's start with some easy ones. The war in Iraq, the war against terrorism, eavesdropping, Guantanamo, the USA Patriot Act. For me, this is just one egregious overstepping of honor and liberty after another, all in the name of a war that I never really heard declared, all based on a premise that I've never understood to be true. Now, here's where I'm having trouble, and here's where my anger gets really out of hand. A few years ago, we took a president into the well of the Senate because of a stained dress and said this was a threat to the health of the republic. And over here we have a president who in essence said, we're going to go to war because of something that is false. And this is not a threat to the republic. And I'm still trying to work out why this over here was an impeachable reality, a threat to the integrity of the United States, and this over here is not. I just don't get it. And yet this is not the problem I want to talk about today. As awful as the eavesdropping without order is, as awful as the USA Patriot Act is that makes librarians into snoops and snitches, as awful as Guantanamo is and what do they call it, concessioning or whatever it is, taking prisoners to other places so they can beat them up a little more, as awful as that all is, that's not the problem I want to talk about with America. I just want to let you know that I knew about those problems too. That's not the problem. I could also talk about Enron and who went to jail about Enron just a couple of days ago. Can't remember his name. I really don't care. And the WorldCom people and the Tyson people. Or we can go the other way and say, what about Delphi and Northwest and General Motors, local concerns that have basically said, hey, we're going out of business. Tough luck, everybody. The laissez-faire world of business. The unregulated ideal that seems to be coming from all quarters. And when I chase that unregulated ideal, that idea of the free marketplace all the way to its logical end, where do I end up with? I end up with organized crime. That's the most unregulated business I know. The drug business is a pure laissez-faire business. Is that where we want the country to go? Well, maybe some people think so. The unregulated plutocracy, the unregulated hoodlumocracy of the economy. This is making me crazy, and yet this too is not the problem I want to talk about, but I wanted you to know I knew about this. Because people have been saying, why don't you talk about these? Well, I've just talked about them, okay? And then we have Mr. Abramoff and his dear, dear friend Tom DeLay. And locally, is this a fellow named Jeffrey Feiger that's in our local news with a little bit of stuff on his fingers, as I make it out? The corruption of the public good for private gain. It's been going on for 7,000 years. There's no question about it. But what bothers me is in a democracy, it pollutes the trust a democratic republic needs to believe in its own government. If you don't believe your representative is representing you, but is rather representing this part of himself, if you give the expression, that wallet that hangs back there, is for sale to the highest bidder, why should you care about voting, much less putting someone out? It's all corrupt, it's all terrible. And a democracy that doesn't believe in itself is not a democracy anymore. It's vile, it's revolting. It divides things into the real and the false. And yet this too, as awful as it is not the problem I want to talk about today. So I've talked about corruption. We can let that one go. Now let's get into what you really want me to talk about. Let's talk about Pat Robertson, who had words about Ariel Sharon this week. Or about, was it Dover, Pennsylvania, and other fine things. This excellent oracle of the Almighty and his partners, not official, people like Pat Dobson and Jerry Falwell. And I remember at one point when there was earlier this season, in the Christmas season, someone was trying to say that good Christians should boycott stores that don't say Merry Christmas. Remember all that nonsense? It was all nonsense, it really was. And one of these fellows was quoted as saying, it's a majority Christian nation, get over it. My blood pressure just doesn't want to go there. Neither does yours. The militant religion that's wielding a sword of righteousness that's aimed at anyone not on their side, that divides America into saints on my side and sinners on your side. This is a huge problem. There are books being written about it. People give me books about it. It's very real, and yet that's not the problem I'm going to talk about today. No. Now let's go to one of the easy ones. I'm thinking of Sean Puffy Combs, or the folks on the Today Show with their relentless smiles, and Steven Spielberg with his glossy, wonderful movies, or Bill O'Reilly, whom we all love to hate.